Spongebob Boy.
Welcome to Spoot Boot Hama Baba Loot.
The Halloween special of Spongebob Boys.
Spongebob Boys.
I hope everyone has had a wonderful, spooky, and safe October. And if you're in on Halloween night, deciding to spend it doing the scariest thing of all, hearing us recount SpongeBob episodes, believe me, we're going to prove that you made the right choice because we have some bangers in the hopper today, don't we, Gus?
This is going to be a treat for your brain, for your ears, maybe for your eyes, maybe for all your senses. You don't know what you're in for, but I'll tell you one thing. And you know that was between fingers when I just did that.
Just be glad this episode doesn't have smell-o-vision. Be glad every episode of SpongeBob doesn't have smell-o-vision.
Especially some of these ones.
I've got a really, really exciting announcement that I'm going to share a little bit into the episode. Please stick around for that because it is an exciting thing 2 years in the making. And in true SpongeBob Boys fashion, you will not be ready. So, Gus, who shall begin tonight?
Well, let's see. Would you do the honor of taking this first episode, Henry Galley?
Alrighty, I shall. And also, because we know you want it, because we've seen you asking for it in the comments of every single SpongeBob video since we first did it, we have decided to listen to our fans. We are bringing back the fake episodes. Not to say that this one is fake, or that my other one is fake, or that either of Gus's are fake, but any of the episodes we share tonight could be fictitious SpongeBob episodes that me or Gus have come up with and slipped in, and it will be up to you, and it will be up to each other in the spirit of the game to try and root out the fakes. And because it's a Halloween special, we have sought out some of the weirder, ookier, spooky episodes, which brings us to my first one, Gus. From Season 11, it is the episode Bucket Felice.
Interesting. Okay, alright. So I'm already gonna be on guard now that I know that either of these ones that you bring up could be fake. But let's hear about this presumably chum bucket focused episode.
Somewhat. So my question for you is, what do you think this episode could be about? Logline it for me. Let's see how close you get.
My thinking is that Plankton is not making enough money to keep the chum bucket and thus has to rent it out to some secondary character, but like secondary to Plankton, I mean. Like SpongeBob turns it into like, I don't know, like a nightclub or something. Or like, Patrick ends up like living there for a bit. Like basically like something that conflicts with the idea that like the chum bucket now has a new tenant, and Plankton has to play landlord and restaurant owner, and it's the 2 dates to the prom, the classic sitcom.
It would be the most Plankton thing to also become a landlord, on top of all of the other evil shit he's done.
Absolutely.
But no, this is actually a little bit weirder and eerier. We eschewed the random number generator in this one because we wanted to go for episodes that kind of fit the Halloween theme. So I went for ones that had like a weird and intriguing log line in the preview on Stan, which is where I watched them. Also, if anyone hears a weird clicking noise, sorry, this is Game of Farts Part 2. My chair is being very vocal today, and I don't know why.
Oh, that's what they all say. And by they all, I mean you right now.
It's true, I do keep making this excuse. Why is it like this? So I'm going to have to sit up perfectly straight for this. Alright, to avoid it sounding like I'm running some sort of mechanism in the background. Alright, so I picked this episode.
A fart mechanism, for farts.
We got the soundboard from yours and Charlie's Substance video back. Just every time I say something, fart with reverb blasts in the background. Alright, so I actually picked this episode because weirdly, it reminded me of a spooky image from the r/liminal spaces thing that I sent you a while back, Gus. and we'll put it on screen right now. I think it was an image that had, like, just out of business. And just this very disconcerting thing of just the chum bucket and the Krusty Krab shuttered and abandoned. And to a degree, that actually happens in this episode. So, the episode starts with Mr. Krabs going up to the Krusty Krab to sort of unlock it in the morning. And he's going up to do it, and he's sort of talking to himself, like another fine day of making money, so long as a certain competitor doesn't try any schemes. And as he goes to unlock the door, he turns around to the chum bucket, and he sees that the front door has been boarded up, and there is a big sign in the sand out front that says Building for Lease. And Mr. Krabs is baffled by this, and then Squidward turns up, and Krabs asks him about it, and Squidward says, "Oh, haven't you read the paper? The chum bucket finally folded. It's honestly a miracle that it took this long, given that nobody wants to eat the food there." And Mr. Krabs is kind of thrown off kilter by this, because immediately he's like, "Oh, okay, I get it. Plankton's playing the long
This
game."
is a scheme.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this has to be a classic Plankton scheme, like where he's like, like making Mr. Krabs let his guard down.
He literally says that. He says to Squidward, "What would be a better way of making me let my guard down than convincing me that the little twerp had left the restaurant business entirely?" So he's gonna overcompensate and have his guard up even more than usual. So we've got our premise for the episode established early on. So we then cut into the Krusty Krab, where we get the sort of standard time wasting shtick. SpongeBob is like dancing around, serving like different incidental fish, their Krabby Patties, and throughout this, we see that Mr. Krabs is like looking through like a spyglass from his back office, looking at each customer coming through, and kind of like muttering to himself about how each one of them could potentially be working for Plankton.
He's getting really paranoid.
Yeah, it's the usual suspects. There's the one who's the kind of catfish-looking one in the purple shirt with like the sort of murky green skin. There's Gold Team Rules. There's Fred. There's the dude who SpongeBob was worried that he'd like done something. He was worried SpongeBob had done something to his ice cubes back in the April Fool episode.
Oh, yes.
You know
yeah.
the one.
What did you do to my drink?
Yeah,
that guy, yeah.
That guy who, it's always about his drink. Because it was him in the Krusty Krab Pizza episode as well.
Yeah, he was also the guy who wanted the Diet Dr. Kelp. That was the same design, wasn't it?
By the way, I'm literally drinking a Diet Dr. Pepper right now. So maybe I was this guy all along.
Funnily enough, I'm actually drinking a cocktail in a can called Dogfish Head, and it has like a shark on it. So another nautical drink as well.
We always come on theme to these things.
Oh, we come on theme.
We love to come during Spongebob Boys.
And we love to go as well.
I can't wait to go. So Mr. Krabs is kind of entering his Colonel Kurtz arc.
I'm going.
He calls Squidward and SpongeBob into his office and tells them that from here on in, he wants them to frisk the customers as they come in, just to make sure that they like don't have something on them. And Squidward is like, "Okay, that's weird. We better be getting paid extra for this." They are not.
Naturally.
SpongeBob is against the idea, so Mr. Krabs reframes it as, like, well, think of it as you're giving them a very thorough hug, you know? And in the course of this hug, you just want to feel all of their pockets, around the ankles, like, just make sure that they feel thoroughly hugged. And if you notice anything weird while you're hugging them, come and let me know.
There is a bit more of crabs in Plank Crab than we thought initially. If it's all about like, hand gestures and touching and and all that, he knows the ways.
Yeah, this is kind of Mr. Krabs doing his like little like early 2000s like War on Terror style. Like, oh, let's have the Crustacea act in the Krusty Krabs. We'll give up freedom for security.
It is really funny that the 2000s gave us both, like, this paranoid, pat down, check everything culture in airports, and also this extremely horny, like, anime convention culture where people were just touching each other in all the same ways, but for very different reasons.
Yeah, the 2000s were not a big time for boundaries, and neither is this. So, Squidward and SpongeBob are like positioned near the doors, and there's this joke of Squidward is letting like really like salty spittoon looking customers who very clearly have like actual weapons and stuff. Just like he'll just give them like a glass and be like, "Yeah, you're fine. Go in." And they'll immediately enter. By the way, there is Olaf from the Viking episode is here with an axe. Squidward just lets him in as well. Yeah, no, I like
That's
that we
nice.
have we have Olaf returning. They know how to use every part of the incidental character over at SpongeBob.
It is also really great that, like, SpongeBob is a show that, like, a universe, rather, where there's just always kind of ne'er-do-wells, like, like lurking in the, like, various, like, environments.
No, it's true. Like, I love that this is a town that has, like, a tough guy bar. And I'll admit, I didn't directly recognize any of the, like, designs of the kind of scary fish coming in other than Olaf. But, picture the sort of people who were in the line for the salty spittoon, and you're in the neighborhood.
It would be great if they did bring back that one guy who was just the, like, what about that guy? And SpongeBob makes that, like, noise when he sees this, like, buff fish. Yeah! Exactly.
He makes the very Mike Myers Cat in the Hat, like, breathy noise.
How many shots? Like that voice, yeah.
God. Meanwhile, SpongeBob is, like, giving hugs to these different incidental fish, one of which, like, immediately, like, breaks down crying and starts, like, confessing all of the, like, things that he feels have gone wrong in his life. And he's like, oh, it's just so nice to be held. Which...
Well, you know what? I think that's a lot nicer treatment than, like, spread 'em.
No,
like,
exactly.
At least the security detail seems to bring out the best in people.
No, exactly. I'm glad they weren't getting too weird with it in this. It's just that Squidward is just openly letting criminals in, and SpongeBob is holding up the line by just giving, like, epic hugs to the people who are coming in. So this isn't enough for Mr. Krabs, because while they're not finding any signs of plankton, Mr. Krabs is like, well, this doesn't mean he's not trying to look. So Mr. Krabs is, that bit in the Grand Budapest Hotel when it's like the like assembly line of all of the not the assembly line, but when they're at the prison and they have the different things coming in, and there's people like cutting open the cheese and like stabbing stuff just to make sure that no one was like sneaking contraband into the prison, and then they let the cakes from Mendel's, which obviously look like breaking out of prison tools, go straight through.
Right.
Like, Mr. Krabs is doing a very similar thing out the back, where a delivery fish with a van is just giving him these, like, bags of, like, buns and patties, and Mr. Krabs is insisting on inspecting every single bun and every single patty out of the bags, while this guy stands here, and he's just kind of like, I got other deliveries I need to make today, man. He's that one sort of, like, slightly, like, squeaky voiced guy who is sometimes in SpongeBob. I think he might be the same dude who's did the, oh, he made me experience high tide, but, like, not doing the surfer accent.
Scooter!
Yeah!
Scooter!
Yeah, it's him,
He's like purple.
Yeah, he's the delivery guy.
Good for him. Good to know that he's employed.
Yeah, employed and, like, not dead, if that was the same one.
Yeah, he's not either dead or a beach bum, which might be a fate worse than death.
It's true. Just ask Matthew McConaughey.
That's a good movie, actually.
I haven't actually seen it. I'd like to. I'm a Matthew McConaughey fan. True Detective.
That's a
Season
Patreon,
1. So
$1 a month.
We should. We should cover that on there. But no, Mr. Krabs makes him wait, and then Squidward and SpongeBob are coming to sort of console him because he's going a little bit close encounters crazy, and they're like, "Look, it seems like the chum bucket really has closed because, like, he just never sold anything. It's like he spent every hour of every day desperately trying to steal this restaurant's burgers because no one was buying anything. Like, why would it be that surprising, for the restaurant to just close down? It's a competitive industry. But Mr. Krabs won't accept this.
Yeah, this is a little bit like Squeaky Boots, because, like, Mr. Krabs is his worst enemy, and, like, I just realized, too, it's like, we haven't seen Plankton this whole episode.
No, you don't, crucially. Or at least you don't hear Plankton. We'll get to that in a second. So, Mr. Krabs, becoming increasingly paranoid, shells out for a top-of-the-line metal detector system around all of the doors because he knows that on many different occasions Plankton has tried to use, like, robots and gadgets as a way of like trying to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula. And there's this really fucked up joke. I don't know how they got away with this. Perhaps shouldn't have been in here, but one of them, you can probably see where this is going. One of the many Old Man Jenkinses turns up in a wheelchair, and it makes it makes the thing beep. So Mr. Krabs is immediately, like, on this, and is like,
nice try, cyborg.
Yeah, like... no, genuinely, I'm not kidding. Like, that happens.
Oh, no!
He goes over and he's like, oh, what? I just wanted a sandwich.
What Mr. year Krabs, is this?
Yeah, like, frisks him, looks under his blanket, and then turns him around and kicks his wheelchair into the street. And you just hear, like, traffic collision noises off screen. And then Mr. Krabs is like, Plankton's gonna have to get up a lot earlier than that if he thinks he can trick me. Well, it, like, pans over to, like, SpongeBob and Squidward looking, like, out the window, just really concerned at the state of, like, Mr. Krabs' sanity.
Yeah, I mean, as they would be at this point.
I don't know why, but these very, like, Edgar Allan Poe type plots always seem to happen to Mr. Krabs. Because obviously there's the Squeaky Boots that you mentioned earlier, but there was that, like, weird
which is the Telltale Heart,
episode that I got last time. You know? Where they're all kind of, like, going mad in isolation. And it's always Mr. Krabs who is the instigator. You know?
I cannot wait for the one where Mr. Krabs has to fight an orangutan with a razor.
Yeah. The C, Auguste Dupin, the C stood for crab. It was Crab Auguste Dupin. They don't tell you that in literature school.
The crab and the pendulum also. That's another one that's going to happen.
Oh, please let us write an episode, SpongeBob writers. So, Mr. Krabs, it gets to a point where he gets so paranoid that Plankton is going to try something that he, like, kicks all of the customers out and he closes the restaurant. And he, like, locks everything down, double, like, triple lock, and then, just to satisfy his curiosity, he, like, dresses up in, like, a kind of, like, ninja-style, like, criminal jumpsuit, and sneaks
Oh,
into the chum bucket at
I can
night.
totally picture this.
You
Like
know what I
this
mean?
very yeah, like he's like black from head to toe with like maybe like does he have like beanies on his ears or on his eyes? I mean, eye
That would have
stalks.
been funny, but no, his eye stalks, like the eye stalks are exposed and his mouth is exposed, but that's it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's the look.
That's the look. So he sneaks into the chum bucket because he is certain that like there's something more going on. And as he goes in, it's completely empty and it's dusty, and he's shining around with the flashlight. And again, this is partly why I picked this for this episode. It legitimately gets quite spooky because there are these moments where he will shine the like flashlight around and a plankton type shape will like dart out of the beam.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, it's actually quite creepy. It reminded this whole episode had a similar vibe to that thing we discussed in another episode, Gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Where like SpongeBob's traveling through the town and nobody's there.
yeah, and at this point, by the way, the music that is playing is that because you know, like SpongeBob tends to use like a real medley of kind of classic production music in different styles. While Mr. Krabs is searching around the chum bucket, the song that is the kind of like orchestral suspense song is playing. You know, the one that's like. Do you know that one?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Like
They've used that since like season
it
one.
was
I think.
it was the music that plays, I think, when Patrick reveals that when you pull the string, it's a secret compartment in the box.
Oh. Oh. Classic. Classic.
I hope I'm painting a good enough word picture here. Again,
Yeah.
this is one of those episodes that it was quite low on like egregious shit, but quite high on weird energy. Don't worry, I've got the egregious shit in my other episode. Um,
Oh
but
boy.
but Mr. Krabs darts in. He gets the plankton shape, but it's not plankton. It's a cockroach. Because do you remember the like when that little cockroach that SpongeBob made like a tiny Krabby Patty for once?
No, no, but I'm sure it happened.
I swear this did happen. Because the thing is, it's about the same shape, walking on two legs, and has antennas. And Mr. Krabs thought it was plankton, but like catching it is just kind of like ugh, and it goes away. So then we cut to Mr. Krabs in the Krusty Krab with all of the lights off except like an oil lamp in his office, and he's like got like stubble and everything. You know when he gets like stubble and he gets like chins, like the kind of the kind of like harried been awake for like days Mr. Krabs that you see sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's that, and he's writing in his like journal like the kind of different things that were like sneaking in with customers, sneaking with supplies, and he's like crossed each one of them out, and he's like, "Got to keep it together, Eugene. This is what he wants. This is what he's like trying to do to you." He has this moment where he realizes that he like hasn't been to the bathroom all day, and we cut to him in the Krusty Krab bathrooms. It's afterwards toilet flush transition. He is at the sink and he's splashing water into his face, right? And I kid you not, he stands up and in the mirror, it's Crabborg.
No! Oh my god! This is like that moment in Avatar: The Last Airbender when Zuko sees himself with the Aang arrow.
Yeah, like he looks at it and he like backs away screaming, and he's like, "Of course, it's the perfect plan. I'm the last person I'd expect."
So this is a little bit like the Aliens episode 2, where SpongeBob and Patrick are like about to get each other.
Yeah, no, Mr. Krabs has has gone mad. Did you ever see that Netflix movie Leave the World Behind? It had I think it was Ethan Hawke, Sandra Bullock, Mahershala Ali.
They put out so many movies, man. Like Netflix does. I haven't seen it.
No, it's fair. It was a pretty good movie. I'm gonna give some slight spoilers for that. But what I thought it was gonna do for a second was it's a movie where it suddenly seems like kind of the world is like getting like completely fucked up. Like there's like all of the like internet and stuff goes down. Different like remote control stuff starts going haywire. There's like radiation attacks. And while it keeps it quite ambiguous, the end of the movie implies that it's part of a special kind of military attack on the US where essentially it closes off all internal communications and causes just enough chaos that the kind of society tears itself apart in its own like paranoia and distrust of the people
Right,
around
and
them.
you were thinking that this would be Plankton's plan against Mr. Krabs, in a way?
Yeah, no, I thought it was gonna be that basically Mr. Krabs was conducting like a psyop against against Mr. Krabs to get in.
That's insane.
So Mr. Krabs, in a panic, runs into his office, opens the safe, picks up the bottle for the formula, takes it out, opens the piece of paper, and on it, it says, "Finally got you, Eugene. Love, Plankton." And Mr. Krabs screams, and then he wakes up.
Wow, okay, alright. And is that it? Is that the whole thing?
No. So
Okay.
he wakes up. He wakes up, and it goes from creepy to, like, oddly wholesome in a way.
Yeah, because it feels like they sort of dialed it up quite a ways, but then like they're like, let's make it a dream and resolve it some way. It's almost like the adding the storybook elements to a Bubble Bass episode just to give it some kind of structure or sanity to it.
No, it's true. So what Mr. Krabs does is, he grabs his phone and in kind of a cold sweat, he calls Plankton. And Plankton is like, "Why are you calling me, Eugene? It's like 10 o'clock. Like, what are you doing?" And Mr. Krabs is like, "Oh, I just wanted to, like, check in on you. You're gonna be, like, go to work tomorrow at the Chum Bucket, right?" And Plankton is like, "Yes, I'm gonna be going back to work at my way less successful restaurant. Suppose you just called to rub it in, right?" And Mr. Krabs is like, "No, honestly, never give up, buddy. Your ship's gonna come in any day now." And Plankton's kind of like, thanks, I guess," and hangs up. And then Mr. Krabs, finally, like, sort of sighing in relief, goes to sleep for real. And then the episode ends. And that was Bucket Police.
Wow. That went to some unusual places. It's so funny because Mr. Krabs will get these episodes like we mentioned with Squeaky Boots and stuff, but also the like weird, almost like It's a Wonderful Life-esque one where he's dies because he eats that patty and the Flying Dutchman visits him. He gets a lot of like weird existential episodes.
Yeah, because I think what's really funny is just this idea that the episode is kind of positing, I guess, that ultimately Mr. Krabs, like, needs Plankton, because he's, like, gotta have, like, a nemesis or he'll spin out.
Well, it's interesting because it's almost like an inversion of this idea that, like, capitalism it leads to the extinction of competition. Like, Mr. Krabs, almost in order to exist in his current form as, like, a businessman, he needs a competitor to feel good about himself, almost.
Yeah, like, I think it's one of those things where it's like, I think, no, not to get too deep with it, I guess in life we all need to have people to, like, compare ourselves to. I saw someone say once, I think this is the Frank Shamrock rule of martial arts, but it's to reach your full potential, you need someone worse than you that you can teach. You need someone on your level that can be like a peer so you can challenge each other, and you need someone who's a lot better than you who will like teach you things that you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, not only is that a great way to, like, foster success or just understand where you are in, like, whatever skill you're practicing, it's also, like, the formula for, like a damn perfect shonen anime.
No, it's true. I mean, that's the thing. Like, and yeah, I forgot which one, but Frank Shamrock is like the father of some kind of martial art. Tell us down in the comments.
Yes, yeah, please let us know.
Great name too, my god. But yeah, no, that's one of those things that's like, I feel like a lot of shonen anime creators are kind of like fight nerds, and they kind of incorporate that knowledge into their shows, which, for the record, Gus, is actually a pretty good segue to something.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. It is. Yeah, you're so right. Well, shall we show them? Shall we give them a taste?
Yeah, so let me preface this a little bit. So, we've hinted at in very vague, coy ways, but the Wanna team as a whole, though me and frequent contributor Addison Peacock are the co-creators on this, in addition to the wonderful Kingmaker histories and some other projects we're working on, over the last 2 years, we have been secretly working on a new kind of action cyberpunk battle audio drama called Killjam XXX, which stars Addison as the main character, Faustina Fetamine, who is a competitor in a, like, big, global, women-only, though it's trans-inclusive, death game. Other dear friend of the show, Zui LeFou, as Bellamy, her morally flexible new manager. And rather than me just talking your ear off about it, Gus has kindly agreed to cue up the trailer.
So let's hear that right now.
It's Killjam XXX! Choose your fighter! Faustina Fetamine! She's a femme and feral machete bisexual!
Ready to admit I'm hot as fuck? Or do I need to slice something off?
Bellamy Pink! He's a chaotic neutral cyborg twink!
If anyone's gonna sell my kidneys, it's gonna be me!
Mara Noct! She's retired from the ring, but not from kicking ass!
You can dodge, block, or die.
Dr. Yuzna! He's a traumatized trauma surgeon!
And you're sure you don't want any anesthetic?
Anaconda! She's a lethal lesbian snake with expensive taste!
What's that? Did you say tighter?
Vic Cadmium! He's a charming rogue with a heart of gold!
I am, quite frankly, too pretty to die.
Molly Malarkey! She's just a silly, goofy, very safe clown!
Hiya, boys and girls! Who wants to see me chop up a bunch of people tonight?
Roger Tallarico! He's a solid gold piece of shit!
Orville, hold that camera straight or I'll fuck your wife again.
Lex the Talon! She's a beefy butch with a blade!
Nobody kills Faustina but me, okay?
Mr. Dirge! He's pure evil in a three-piece suit!
Sparse turnout. I'll need to kill someone after this.
You have chosen your fighter! Ready? Let the battle begin!
Killjam XXX! It's like a fighting game for your ears!
Subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts and go to killjamxxx.com.
See you soon, cuties!
Wow. All right. Like, I am so excited for this because obviously, you know, we work together on all our creative projects pretty closely. I've done a lot of work for this. I provide some voices for this. I won't spoil which ones, but really cool to finally be able to have this project be public here on Spongebob Boys. Of all shows it could have been for us to announce this.
The show is already live of this recording on Tumblr. It's killjamxxx, that's XXX, no spaces, tumblr.com. Also can be reached at killjamxxx, that is killjamxxx.com, the landing page, which will link you to everything else. This show has been a huge labor of love for the longest time. We have gotten some of the most insane people in this. Even in the trailer, some of those voices you've heard, obviously you know about Addison and Zooey, but Dr. Usner, that is Johnny Sims, the creator and star of the Magnus Archives, who plays a recurring character in this. Mara is Tiana Camacho, who is in the dubs for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean. She's in Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, she's Lily in Street Fighter 6 as well. I'm a big fan of that game. It's a really like stacked cast, but also like it is such a showcase of all of the stuff that all of us have done and contributed to it. Henry, you most of all being the sort of brains behind it and the writer, but also B, our friends Addison Peacock and Zooey LeFou are incredibly talented, and you will hear so much of their voices in KillJamXXX, and it's really exciting to know that this is going to be out there in the world for all of you to listen to very soon.
It's so true, and of course, absolutely stellar production from Meg, who working on shows like The Kingmaker Histories and Giorgio Romero is done for as a producer, has given them the audio skills to pay the bills.
Oh, yeah. Meg has become an exemplary sound designer, which, you know, people who have been listening to Kingmaker, like, already know. But some of the new ways that this, like, you know, dystopian, hyper-capitalist future have been captured in KillJamXXX, a lot of that is owed just to the skill that Meg has in their craft.
It's so true. It's so true. So yes, please check it out. Please go to the spaces. Follow it on your social media of choice. Tell your friends. Hype it up. Tell them that Gus and Henry sent you. Because believe me, if you love what we do, if you love the opinions we have, and you love the things we love, you are going to have an amazing time with KillJamXXX. And I personally cannot wait to hear what you think of it. Oh, and feel free, just because you know we're absolute whores for comment farming here anyway, please feel free to give your thoughts on the trailer down in the comments if you enjoyed it. We'll love to hear what you think.
Or just leave a comment that mentions KillJamXXX, the title of the show, somewhere, so people can spread the word. Also, listen for my voice. It's gonna be in there. It's gonna be in a few of those episodes. I won't say where, though.
Not gonna say. Gus has a lot of little roles. Gus plays a prominent character who I think is one of the funniest characters we've ever written. Like, line for line.
Stop.
In everything we've done, gets, like, the biggest laughs.
You're gassing me up, but also, like, you wrote a lot of those lines, Henry, so you're gassing you up, too.
What can I say? I'm just bloody brilliant. Anyway, thank you all for giving us your valuable SpongeBob time to make that little promo. You will be hearing a lot more about this in the coming videos. But now, we are here for a mission. Gus.
Back to our regularly scheduled sponge programming. Henry.
Same sponge time. Same sponge channel.
Henry, this next episode is called A Cabin in the Kelp.
Oh, of course. So let me guess. All right, let me predict what happens.
All right, yeah.
So SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, Sandy, and Mr. Krabs, they all decide to go on a holiday to a cabin, and they find out that an elaborate secret organization is engineering a horrific scenario that is happening in order to prevent the end of the world. and they all have to assume archetypal roles to play their part in it. How close was I?
I would say that you were close to kind of what this might have been. But you were very wrong about the selection of characters that will be appearing in this.
Oh wait, let me guess. It's like Bubble Bass and a bunch of other B characters.
Not even, man. Not even. We're not dealing with this. We're not dealing with this.
We're talking about
We're dealing with this. And what I mean by that is that no boys allowed. This is an episode where the gal pals are going on vacation to a cabin.
Why do you always get these episodes?
I don't know. And frankly, I don't want to know what it says about me. So we are introduced to the original gal pal roster at the beginning of this episode with just Sandy, Karen, and Mrs. Puff. They're outside boating school, and they're getting the car ready to go on, this venture. Mrs. Puff is like she's brought a picnic basket. She's about to eat a Krabby Patty, which Karen takes and wrings out into the engine and says, the engine was a little greasy. Or it needed grease, rather. It needed grease.
It was a little greasy, and I thought I'd make it greasier.
It's making greasier.
I like my engines greasy.
This sets a precedent for the unreal amount of just visual gags in this, because it goes from that to Sandy lassoing the trailer that goes on the end of the car and then hitching them together and then saying, "Looks like your truck and trailer got hitched." And she placed a top hat on the truck and a tiara and veil on the trailer, and they all laugh because marriage.
It is nice that they remember that Sandy can also be Texas jokes as well as mad scientist jokes now and then.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. It's like Karen is literally a computer and the wife of a mad scientist. You got to diversify it a little bit, The gal pals all can't be the same person.
No, it's true. You gotta have variety. It's why we think that Slappy and Slippy may not last.
And speaking of, there's now a fourth gal pal who is joining. It's not Slippy. That would be insane if it was Slippy. Apparently, Pearl is joining the gal pals, which raises so many questions that we said in the last gal pal episode we covered.
Yeah, a little bit weird to be and I won underaged friend.
It's also especially weird if, Mrs. Puff and Mr. Krabs are dating, because it's also yeah, let me just take your daughter and, go on, our, girls out adventure out into the, wilderness.
The wife of your biggest business competitor will also be there.
Yeah, it's a little suspicious. But the thing is, Pearl, who is, coming down the street to go join the gal pals, she also believes that this is a little bit suspicious. She's oh, they're gonna prank me at the initiation. They're gonna prank me good, so I'm gonna counter prank them. And in her backpack is SpongeBob, who pops out. And this is just Pearl and SpongeBob, but he pops out and he goes, "Boo! Who likes cheese?" And he's floating in midair. Pearl grabs him and puts him back into the backpack and says, you need to be scary, not lame, and wait for my signal."
I love that the theme of the night is paranoia and distrust.
It runs in the Krabs family.
Yeah.
It runs in the Krabs family. I don't know who Mrs. Krabs was, Mr. Krabs' wife, but if Pearl's not adopted, I have some questions about the animal kingdom that will go unresolved.
I feel like Mrs. Krabs was the grandmother from Hereditary, and has passed this instinct through the family.
My wife had private friends. She was a private person.
This is where the Krabs' fortune came from. Payment.
Just imagining, Pearl, I release you. Pearl.
That's Pearlmon.
Oh, man. That could have been one heck of an episode. But instead we've got this. We've got the gal pals. So Pearl does meet up with them, and she stores her backpack in the trailer, which means SpongeBob is in the trailer in the back of this as well. A ticking time bomb waiting to jump out and surprise these women in their, like, all-girl retreat.
I just had a really fucked up thought.
Oh, please, go on.
For obvious reasons, they'd never do this. But imagine if the twist plot of the episode was, when they got there, Pearl or, like, someone else opened the trunk for, like, SpongeBob to, like, jump out, but he'd suffocated in the trunk, and the rest of the episode is the gal pals having to try and get rid of the body.
So it's just the health inspector episode, and they just cover up, like, the murder they committed?
Just the idea of Mrs. Puff being like, don't worry, I know what to do about this, and, like, getting, like, a bunch of knives out of the things, being like, I fantasized about this for so long, we'll cut him up into portions and take him to Goo Lagoon, weight down each piece in a bag.
I mean, it's not out of character for Mrs. Puff, not even within this episode, but we'll get there.
No! Okay, I'm scared, let's go.
So the gal pals go off on the road, and they are singing like a little song, which, like, has lyrics about wanting equal pay. It's like very strange.
That is bizarre. I can feel the YouTubers getting angry about this.
And they drive into, like, a cave that's shaped like a big ear, and they drive out the other side, and it's like a drum that they pop out of, and they're saying, like, yeah, we'll yell in your ear canal, we're the gal pals, or something. It's like a bad song. It's not a good song.
This is bizarre.
But they stop in the middle of the road because a giant snail, like passes along the road, like, leaving a huge trail, and it's, like, chewing on part of a tree, and it also is, like, a moose for some reason. Like, I guess they just decided that all animals are snails now, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, let's roll with it. Let's roll with it.
So they drive past this moose thing, and they're moving along. The road gets a little bumpier. The trailer that contains SpongeBob breaks off of the car. None of the gal pals seem to notice this. Goes off the road and falls into a swamp. Before it sinks, SpongeBob pops out, and he gets to, like, the shore of this swamp, and he sees this, like, foreboding, ominous kelp forest, and he's like, oh, well, this might not be anywhere near the cabin, but at least I've got plenty of food, and the trailer sinks into the depths, never to be seen again.
And then Patrick and Bubble Bass, who are in the middle of Swamp Mates, go past on the swamp boat being chased by those gators.
Yeah, and then Grandpat falls out of another episode into this one, and it's just all connected.
It's like the kind of, like, final act of, like, Too Many Cooks, where reality is just, like, breaking, like, every episode is happening at once. There's this... So, I think we might have mentioned Jam on these shows before.
Oh!
It was this really weird show made by Chris Morris in the, like, late 90s, early 2000s that would only play very late at night, that was all of these just, like, kind of weird, disturbing, like, comedy sketches that would just have a really, like, bizarre, surreal quality to them.
It was less like a comedic sketch show and more like a nightmare show, like a show that would, like, give you nightmares while you were still awake and watching it.
No, it's true. And my parents got it for me on DVD when I was a teenager, because I asked
I don't know
for it.
if I knew this part.
That tracks for me. So there are a lot of, like, weird, like, DVD features on Jam. One of them is you could press a button and have it being played on a small screen in your screen that, like, bounces around the screen. There was also another version of Jam called Jam, with, like, extra A's and M's. This is not, by the way, related to Kill Jam XXX. That is just a coincidence. Which they would play a couple of hours later in the night that was just the exact same show, but fucked up with more filters and effects. And what I'm building to here is that there was one feature on the DVD that was just like play every episode at once on top of each other, and when you clicked it on screen, just the word "Y" would appear and then send you back to the menu.
That is amazing. See, that's a show that knew what it was, and what it was just disturbing, terrifying, and baffling.
Yeah, and it went all the way there. I definitely recommend. Don't look it up unless you are
strong of mind, strong of heart, strong of soul. Where was I? Oh, SpongeBob stranded in the woods.
The trailer just sank. Yeah.
Yeah, he's stranded in the woods now, and he's like, oh no, I'm gonna starve, I don't have any food, ah! And he's like getting mad, and then he finds one peanut on the ground, and he goes, a peanut! This will keep me alive! And he like dances around it, but then he's like, no, I'm attached to this peanut. I can't eat it. This is my lucky peanut. And then we get like a pan out, and it goes like, I have a lucky peanut! And like, for some reason, like Tom Kenny delivers this almost like in the Ice King voice. There's just something about it where it just seems more frantic and insane than usual.
I mean, I guess maybe, and it would make sense given the context of where the Ice King's character goes. Maybe the Ice King's voice is just Tom Kenny's mental degradation voice.
Yeah, and when SpongeBob gets into that register, it's also, like, clear that he is, you know, and it's not out of character for where SpongeBob is in this. Like, you know, he, like, the fact that he just fell off and that Pearl, when they get to the cabin, like, kind of thinks he's, like, actually dead. Like, they get there, and Karen is like, it's a shame about the trailer. Losing that is kind of like losing a friend. And Pearl is, like, crying, and it's like, is she psychic?
That's pretty good.
So, they get into the cabin, and it's absolutely horrible and abysmal. There's a messed up painting of like a goat being gutted on the wall. No, that's not. That's Joss Whedon's Cabin in the Woods. But
there's a book. There's a book made of human skin with a face on it. And when you read out the inscription,
there's an extremely weird sexual dance scene where someone makes out with like a thing on the wall. No, that none of this happens. What does happen is like there is I lied earlier. There is not just things that are snails. There is like you know how like dogs are worms in SpongeBob in some episodes. So there's like a feral like dog worm like eating like a tin can or something. It's like "Rrr, rrr," and then it like jumps out the window, and because it's a worm, it looks like really fucked up in the way that it moves.
I'm just thinking, by the way, just to razz you on this, me turning to the camera, did he lie earlier? Or is he just making this episode up as he goes along? You decide, viewers.
Hey now, don't dream it's over. Hey now. So the worm dog leaves, and Sandy decides to fix everything up. And we don't even get a montage of them fixing it up or anything. It's just kind of like a bubble transition, and then things are like normal and good. And Karen goes like, oh, I'm so glad we have a Texas tornado on our side. And like, Sandy's like, yep.
She's in the Texas mode this episode.
Yeah, because it's her one thing.
I'm taking the week off of science.
Exactly. But so Karen, like, you know, in addition to everything being fixed up, she's like, oh, I need a quick recharge. I didn't know jellyfish could be used for that. And there's like a jellyfish floating in the air. So she plugs the jellyfish like into the side of her monitor, and this is like really, it's something. The jellyfish like shocks her, and electricity courses through her system, and then it floats away, and she just kind of like leans forward, and her monitor face shows like a digital face, and she goes like, oh yeah.
I don't like that.
She faints with like this like sigh of like pleasure, I guess.
Plankton could never satisfy me like this.
Jeez, Plankton, you gotta learn how to use the spark plugs a little bit more often, but
the spark plugs are like the toys.
Exactly. She's your robot wife, and you didn't build accoutrements for her. Plankton. How dare you?
What is happening?
Anyway, that deeply weird. Karen like fainted literally off the screen, so she's out of the shot for a bit. Pearl goes outside
dead.
and is trying to like contact SpongeBob with her cell phone. Meanwhile, SpongeBob is swinging through the trees and he says, "I am Sponge Zan of the Brine Apes."
Of course he says that.
Pearl calls him up. And he thinks the peanut is ringing for some reason because that's his one trait for this episode, that he's super attached to this peanut.
He's Bennett the Sage with his Uzi and Kikassia.
Right, yeah, exactly. So he takes out from his other pocket a like shell phone and answers that. That's what he does, but I forget if that's even how like mobile phones are portrayed in SpongeBob usually, because Pearl just has a regular phone and he has like a purple clam phone. So I don't know.
He's on his It Follows bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. He's got the It Follows shell. If someone hasn't 3D printed that for Meg yet, do it.
No one has. We don't own it.
Yeah, it needs to exist. It needs to be real. But SpongeBob says, Pearl is saying like, "Oh, thank goodness you're alive. Come to the cabin. The prank is still on." And SpongeBob says, "All right, I'm gonna make my way through the trees. How hard can it be? I'll find the cabin." And so he's still lost. There's no chance that he's gonna make it. Like,
Comes to SpongeBob the next day, frozen like Jack at the end of The Shining.
Yeah, like Pearl is just trying to like keep a straight face. She's finally been like accepted by like a group of supportive women who she can look up to, and she's just like, "Oh, but I killed my dad's employee, like the man who keeps his company running."
SpongeBob be out here really putting the yellow into Yellow Jackets.
Oh. That's amazing. You know, the gal pals are hanging around at the campfire, which, again, at this point, they've just given up on the concept of doing jokes about fire underwater. They're drinking, like, some, like, coffee, and Karen, instead of drinking it, scans it for its flavor and then dumps it out.
Genius.
Yeah, this is a pretty good joke. They remembered. She's a computer.
This is the same computer wife who loves to cook holographic meatloaf. It's consistent.
Yeah, it's true enough. I mean, she could scan the flavor and recreate the flavor, if not the physical object itself. But yeah, so Pearl is getting ready for this initiation, and they're like, "All right, here it goes. We're gonna initiate you." And they're like all cackling, and Pearl's like, "Oh, what's gonna happen?" And they put a like gal
bucket
pals.
of pig's blood.
They carry her. But they put this like medallion on her, and it's super anticlimactic. It's like, it says like GP, and they just say, "Yep, you're in the gal pals now.
Your payment's new vessel."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Pearl is just kind of like, she's like, "Okay, like how come? All right, I thought there was gonna be a prank or something. Like I'm glad there isn't." And then Mrs. Puff says something like, "Oh well, we haven't had any like real trouble with the gal pals or doing that, not since Flibberty Gibbet." And as soon as she says that name, Sandy's arm stretches across and puts like a finger to her mouth and goes, "Nope, don't say it, Puff." And Pearl asks like, "Okay, who's Flibberty Gibbet? What's going on here?" And we get the lore on the secret fourth gal pal.
Flibberty Gibbet abstracted about a week ago.
She abstracted, just like Kaufmo. Rip Kaufmo.
Yeah.
But yeah, so apparently Flibberty Gibbet was a character that these three women knew before they made Pearl the fourth member, and they got into an argument with her. And one thing that I thought was really cool is that it like pans over to the cabin, and you see the shadows of like Sandy, Mrs. Puff, and Karen, and then you see like a fourth shadow like yelling at them, and it's like as they're describing that there was this argument that took place between them, we kind of see that play out in the shadows. And they like frame this as like, yeah, and then like she got really steamed up and we don't even remember what the fight was about, but then she ran off into the woods and swore that she would come back one day and destroy all gal pals. And it's like a ghost story. It's like a cabin in the woods sort of spooky ghost story type thing.
I love, by the way, and this is a callback to the Krabby Five, the episode we did with Charlie, which, by the way, we'd love to do another one with Charlie. Tell us down in the comments, bring back Charlie, if you'd like another Charlie Spongebob Boys episode. I love how, like, when it's something that's not really gonna matter, SpongeBob writers don't give a fuck about the names, because Flibbity Gibbet just made me think of the Flimdiding from the, like, pawn shop in that one episode Charlie did. I'm just like, oh, fuck, I don't want to come up with names. It's a blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and it's like, of all the things, it's like Flibbity Gibbet does not even signal that it's like a gal. Like, that's something that, like, an old British sea captain might say if he's just like, oh, Flibbity Gibbets, I've lost me clam chowder or something.
The Boston goes so deep into you that you couldn't maintain the Britishness. It was irrevocably moved towards clam
the clam chowder. Yeah, exactly, the chowder.
Chowder. But
it's chowder. It's chowder. I'll kill you all.
Chowder?
Chowder.
It's me, Mungdal. That gal pal pussy got me acting quite strange, my boy.
I mean, there's no way either of us could say this, but it would be funny if we were so blatant as to just say that Mungdal showed up in one of these episodes. Like, to just give away the game completely.
Yeah, no, I love it, because it's not even the same company.
Yeah, it wouldn't even it would not happen, is the thing.
I think C.H. Greenblatt would need to make a deal with Payman to make that happen.
No, it's true. So the thing is, Pearl can't say Flibbity Gibbet's name correctly because nobody can, and she's talking about how like, oh, you like this is so scary, like oh my goodness, and then it's like revealed to be a prank, and they're all like, oh, we got you. Like, it didn't really happen. And, as Pearl throws away her necklace, and she's like, oh, all right, you got me, girls. We see a hand from the bushes grab the necklace and pull it aside. And it's like a green, gross, like, webbed hand that just, like, pulls it away. Something happens that I don't quite remember. Oh, it's SpongeBob. He's still lost in the woods. He's going from tree to tree, and he's like, I'll make it to the cabin in no time. Because here's a tree, there's a tree, and then he just starts, like, touching the same two trees and making it no farther.
Is there a gas leak in this swamp? You okay, SpongeBob?
Like, I can't tell you. The thing is, these are 11-minute episodes. I don't know why they think they need an A plot and a B plot, but that's what's going on with SpongeBob right now.
You're giving me a little too much, boys.
I need you to fuck off, all right? I don't like saying fuck off to my boys, but that's what I gotta
the kind of guy
do.
I gotta be because of episodes like this.
They make it rotten for all of us.
If you don't know what we're talking about, please look up the video, Something Terribly Offensive for the Minute Hour. It will change your life.
It is. That's such a good underrated channel, but I think that's one of their most popular videos. So, like, check that out if you don't know what we're saying.
It's so good.
Anyway, Pearl basically, like, she's figured out that this is all a prank, but then they start hearing, like, scary noises from the woods, and the gal pals all panic, and they're like, it's Flibbity Gibbet! And Pearl says, well, wait, you said Flibbity Gibbet wasn't real. And then Mrs. Puff says,
she was real, but we just thought we killed her.
No. Mrs. Puff goes like, well, it was partially true. And then Karen says, yeah, there was a Flibbity Gibbet. And Sandy says, and she did run off into these woods. And then in a classic, like, the one good joke of this episode is that Pearl goes, but that was every part of it.
That's fun. I like that.
And so they're all panicking now, but then, like, Pearl remembers that it was supposed to be SpongeBob doing a prank. So she's like, oh, this must be SpongeBob. It can't be Flibbity Gibbet. And so the gal pals get really into this idea that they're going to go prank SpongeBob. Mrs. Puff says something like, we should build a giant haunted house with flying ghosts and 1,000 cadavers. And like she gets really into the descriptions.
I'll provide the cadavers.
Yeah, I already have them. I brought them with me. Like, and so they're like, we like your spirit, Puff, but maybe we'll go a little bit smaller on this one. And they
You don't want to know what she did in prison.
Yeah, so they're like still trying to cook something up, and then from out of the bushes comes this like grotesque green fish lady, the same like as the hand that took away the medallion, and she's like kind of actually a little spooky and weird. Like her eyes are like very like tiny and beady and yellow, and like they gave her this like particularly like dark green color to her, and she's just got like a ton of veins in the way that SpongeBob like artists will just draw veins on things.
She's very vascular.
Yeah, it's not great. And then like she opens her mouth to like roar at them, and it's like lots of like little tiny askew teeth in the way that like they'll sometimes draw like mouths in this show. And the gal pals are like, they're freaking out, their eyes all bug out, and they're like, flippity gibbet! And they run for the car. They get in the car, they're about to start it, and then SpongeBob runs in, and like he's trying to do the prank, and it's not working. Like he's basically like, he doesn't actually say this, but it's basically like, cock-a-doodle-doo, the cow goes moo. Like he's like just flailing his arms around and going like, rawr! It's like, it's
him
nothing.
and his Hannibal Lecter mask.
Yeah, exactly. So they can reuse the voice clip.
That when you look at it closely is actually a Party City Bane mask.
Yeah, absolutely. So SpongeBob, he runs over to the cabin and he gets taken inside by Flibberty Gibbet, and the gal pals are like, we can't just leave him. We have to save SpongeBob. And they have like one of their like gal pals like graphics, but they're all like nervous. They're like, gal pals. They all head into the cabin. They storm inside. And in there, SpongeBob is just like, I think he's drinking tea, or like he's like got like some sort of product from the green scary lady. And they're like, oh, no, this was just a cabin-to-cabin saleswoman. This wasn't Flibberty Gibbet.
Cabin-to-cabin communication. Cabin-to-cabin conversation.
Which raises the question of why they thought this scary green lady was their old friend at all. Because seconds later, the real Flibberty Gibbet shows up, and she's just like a regular like dolphin lady in like almost like a pink like flight attendant outfit.
It makes you think about it. It's like, yeah, no, I think that could be Flibberty Gibbet. She'd look about that decomposed by now. Another one elbows her. Shut up! We don't talk about
Shut
that.
Up! We take it to the grave!
It makes me think about the gag in the like recurring joke in Garth Marenghi's Dark Place in the like modern day interview segments, where they're all talking about the fact that like the character that Alice Lowe plays, the like actor of her, is like definitely dead in the modern day, but they're really cagey about how they know it.
Yeah, that's so, oh my god, that's another classic.
It's so fun. Meg and I constantly quote the "You are a true Highlander" (parenthesis Scotch person).
Yeah, I also love the like, you were buddies, right? I consider you and me to be buddies.
Yeah, you and this Renwick customer were buddies, right? I fucking love Matt Berry. What an amazing show. All on YouTube, I believe.
Yes, so not much else happens in this episode. The real Flibberty Gibbet shows up. They get even more scared than they were of the green fish lady. And then they sprint off into the woods. SpongeBob goes, wait, gal pals, you forgot your lucky peanut. And he goes after them, screeching like the Ice King.
It's fucking peanut.
And Flibberty Gibbet is just there in the cabin being like, oh, but all is forgiven. Okay, bye. And then there's one last, like, gal pals graphic before this episode mercifully ends. What a terrible episode.
What was it called again?
It was called A Cabin in the Kelp.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna look it up.
It might as well have been called Help.
I'm gonna make a risky gamble right now.
Uh-huh.
I am so certain that my other episode is gonna be significantly weirder than whatever you've got. I would like you to do your second episode and me do mine last. That is how confident I am that nothing you have got is more what the fuck than this.
For the first time in Spongebob Boys history, we are taking this out of order. You get back-to-back Guso action with this Spongebob Boys episode.
Again, dude, you have no idea what's coming.
I don't. And also, I don't know if it's actually going to be a real episode or if it's going to be you speaking blasphemous tongues into the reality of our viewers' minds. But I will humor you, Henry Galley. I will humor you.
Thank
and I
you.
will go
I
next.
appreciate it. As a little Halloween trick and or treat. All right, what was your other episode called?
So my other episode is called Spooky Goobers.
Great name. Let's go.
And it's not a reference to Goofy Goober. Like, he can't, for some reason, he cannot appear outside of, like, the movie continuity. That's just where he resides.
Well, due to members of the audience with peanut allergies, they're not allowed to pair 2 episodes with peanuts next to each other due to risks.
You're so right. Wait, I didn't even realize that, like, Goofy Goober's a peanut. And that they were really leaning into the peanut stuff last episode. That's extremely bizarre.
This could be, if people have got smell-o-vision at home, it could induce anaphylaxis, and that's just too big a risk.
I will say this is a very weird episode, but, like, I know what this show is capable of, so, like, we saw, like, SpongeBob in Random Land. Like, this is not the threshold of how weird it gets.
When there's a Squidward suicide reference in an actual episode, as we kind of discussed in that one, all bets are off.
I found this one for the title.
Take me there.
Yeah, let's just get into it.
Like Zydrate, take me there.
We're just referencing all the bangers tonight.
I would love someone to make like one of those wiki, like a SpongeBob Boys wiki page that catalogs every like bit of media we've referenced.
Yeah. If someone has so much time on their hands that they're willing to do that, go right ahead. Anyway, the episode's called Spooky Goobers, and it begins with SpongeBob in his kitchen at the Pineapple. He's doing a crossword puzzle, and he's like stumped because he's trying to figure out a 5-letter word for a 4-cornered shape. And he's like,
Incredible.
What is this? Like, well, 5-letter word. And he's like, what am I, And he's like puzzling over it. And meanwhile,
ocean pollution has really taken a toll on the mental states of Bikini Bottom citizens.
Yeah. So, like, he says the word sponge at one point, and he's like, he's trying his best, but he's muttering to himself, and then meanwhile, things in his kitchen are, like, levitating. Like, there is a cereal box that comes off the top of the fridge, and it levitates over to the table, and the fridge door opens, and a carton of milk comes out, and then, like, the table itself grows like a wooden arm.
I'm calling Flying Dutchman on this.
You would think so. You would really think so. We'll get there. But SpongeBob looks at this that is going on in front of him. He sees this, and he sees the cereal, and he kind of goes like, thanks, boo. And he starts eating the cereal, putting down the crossword puzzle. And as he is doing this, there is this, like, flash of light, and, like, a spectral portal opens up in the middle of SpongeBob's kitchen, and out of it comes Patrick, and he, like, screams, and he's, like, covered in, like, ectoplasm, pink ectoplasm. He's like, ah! Ah!
He made the horrible mistake of walking through that, like, Pee-wee's Playhouse-looking door in the Patrick show, and it's jettisoned him into this episode of SpongeBob.
That would be amazing, actually, if Patrick was wearing the Patrick Show costume, and it was, like, a continuity crossover.
Yeah, he's got the, like, Hawaiian shirt.
It's like, wait, SpongeBob, you work at the Krusty Krab? I thought you were unemployed. Or I thought you were really into cryptocurrency and that's how you made your money. Or however it is in the SpongeBob, in the Patrick show.
SpongeBob the day trader.
But anyway, Patrick, like, shows up and SpongeBob is, like, delighted to see him. It's like, oh, Patrick! And Patrick's like, how did I get here? I was just in my house. And SpongeBob wipes off the goo and he goes, Patrick, no, it's fine. My house is haunted. And so...
No, Patrick, the spirits of the dead are in this pineapple. It's okay.
Well, they never clarify whether it's spirits of the dead or just, like, ghosts in, like, the Danny Phantom sense.
No,
where they're,
okay,
like, random
alright.
supernatural beings.
Sorry. No, I need to, you've given me an excuse.
Okay.
Butch Hartman is so full of shit because he later tried to pull that bullshit about, like, no, the ghosts aren't dead people, they're their own thing. When multiple prominent ghosts, the way they died is
so
baked
important
into their backstory.
Thank you. I'm actually so glad we've gone here. like
no,
this
that
is
pissed me
perfect,
off
yeah.
so bad. Because it's like, look, Bruce, did I call him
Bruce?
But Bruce.
Who is Bruce Hartman?
That's my OC, Bruce Hartman. I defy you, Hartman.
Listen, Bruce Springsteen, the creator of the Fairly Odd Parents. You might think you're the boss.
Yeah, but you're not the boss of me, Bruce. You may be born to run, but you're not going to escape these criticisms.
Yeah, you're on a dangerous road right now, a thunder road, if you will.
But you know how it's like Butch Hartman, obviously, because he's a grifter, at a certain point started, like, really leaning into all the, like, Christian stuff and was trying to sell it to the Pure Flix crowd. So he did, like, revisionist history to be like, no, this isn't, implying that the afterlife is any kind of way. Because what I find really funny about, like, radical Christians, obviously there's loads of really chill Christians. And chill people
absolutely.
of all faiths and of no faiths.
Well, it's like the specific type of, like, radical Christian that Butch Hartman is because it's also the, like, it's not just that he has this very, like, strong faith. It's this, I'm this now. Give me money for being this. I'm going to create an entertainment network that is just all this.
All the prosperity gospel bullshit. But no, the thing is, what I find really funny about this particular type of, like, faith grifter, regardless of what particular faith they ascribe to, is that they like, forget the meaning of fiction. Where it's like, literally every fictitious world has to directly one-to-one depict the, like, cosmology of my faith. Like, Gus and I were two of the most prolific writers on, like, Less is Morgue. Do you think that depicts how we think the universe works? Like, it's so funny.
Like, there is a separation between, like, the art we create and, like, our own, like, beliefs and principles, And that can be true of anyone,
Like, not to sound all, like, edgy atheist here, but, like, buddy, it is your conception of God, like, so weak and so petty that Danny Phantom would dethrone him if it's not picturing the, like, fundamentalist, like, evangelical, like, the fucking Nephilim and, like, all that. It's just so funny, the way that they'll, like, backtrack on this shit. Like, it's ghosts. They're dead people. It's fine. Kids know people die. They're aware of that.
No, it's true. And I think one last thing we'll say on Butch Hartman before we get back to Spooky Goobers is that the whole thing with, like, the School's Out, the musical, where, like, the villain of that is this guy who wants to create, like, a curated, like, highly sanitized space for children at the behest of the Pixies. That feels like Butch trying to create his, like, Oaxis. I feel like that's a one-to-one allusion to his own work that you could read and it would be accurate.
I mean, it actually works on multiple levels because Ben Stein, who like voiced all of the Pixies, is like a right-wing
He's
chud.
a staunch conservative. Yeah, he's completely like gone off the deep end with that, or maybe always was.
Those are the guys who are like signing Butch's checks these days. Because god damn, you know you were fucked up when your reputation is so toxic, Nickelodeon won't work with you.
I know this is also a Nickelodeon thing.
Let's get back to
Spooky
Goobers.
I was just gonna say, like, I really can't wait for the Bunsen is a Beast Daily Wire revival.
Bunsen is in a binary.
Anyway, SpongeBob is explaining to Patrick that, like, there are, like, these ghosts in his house, and that, like, this has been the status quo for a bit, and Patrick is like, oh, but ghosts are scary and mean! And SpongeBob clarifies, like, oh, no, these are good, friendly ghosts, Patrick, not evil, scary ghosts. And Patrick, like, warms up to it a little bit. And then SpongeBob shows, like, Patrick, it's like, oh, see, like, we can have fun with this. Like, look. And they start teleporting around the house, like, through those same ghost portals that brought Patrick in. And they're, like, playing, like, Marco Polo. Like, they're going, like, Marco Polo in different parts of the house. They're, like, you know, they're having a lot of fun with this. And we see outside the pineapple, the windows are, like, lighting up with, like, green energy. And coming down the street from the two different directions, from one side we see Plankton, and he's got, like, you know, a bunch of, like, ghost gear and stuff, and, like, this boombox.
Of course he does.
And from the other side we see Sandy, and both of them have, like, locked on to this spectral energy, and they've both come to, like, investigate it.
I love how Plankton will do anything to avoid just running a good restaurant.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I don't know why he is so interested in science, but not interested enough to make it his main thing. You know? Why does he even entertain the illusion that being a, like, restaurant owner is his real path? It's clearly he's more invested in this.
But Plankton is that, I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn people into dinosaurs.
I want to find ghosts, yeah. So, like, he like, says to Sandy, like, what are you doing here? Like, I'm here to harness these ghosts. Sandy says to him, you know, we gotta figure out what to do about this. It's you know, a real problem. Like, ghosts should not be down here. And they both head up to the door, and they're kind of, like, jostling each other, and they knock on the door, and they step into the house, and they hear, like, SpongeBob and Patrick giggling. Plankton says, like, well, I'll take the lead since my science is better. And, you know, he starts going upstairs, and Sandy goes, like, yeah, well, I know SpongeBob's house better, so I think the ghosts are in this room. And both of them walk into portals and end up in front of the house again. Like, just a hard reset.
Do you know what I love about this?
What?
These are the kinds of episodes you only get when you've been running since 1999 and are still coming out in 2024. You know? Because no one would ever think this up for the first season of their show. Like, this is so far from what any of this is.
I know. It's one of those things where, like, there's already been so many, like, haunting episodes in this show. So many, like episodes with, like, the Flying Dutchman and stuff. And now it's just like, yeah, just ghosts are here. In a way, like, it feels, like, overdue. It feels like this should have happened before a lot of those other episodes.
Mr. Krabs has canonically defeated a skeleton army in single combat.
No, that's true. That's true. The weird thing about this is that, like, until this point in the episode, the ghosts haven't, like, physically manifested in any way. They've just been this invisible force that's, like, creating these, like, portals and stuff. Those portals actually come into play as, like, the next segment is just, like, Sandy and Plankton trying to find SpongeBob and Patrick. And they end up, like, you know, seeing SpongeBob and Patrick in different parts of the house, but each of them keep going into these portals and, like, giggling. And we get, like, you know, basically the SpongeBob house tour, because, like, Plankton ends up in the library at one point. where, like, Gary meows at him and, like, hisses and chases him for a bit. We get, like, Sandy running around. She ends up in, like, the SpongeBob bathroom, and then she, like, goes back into the kitchen where she meets SpongeBob. And SpongeBob's like, oh, hey, Sandy. Like, I want you to meet some friends of mine. Some stuff in the kitchen starts floating around, and Sandy goes like, SpongeBob, these ghosts are real dangerous. And SpongeBob goes, no, these are friendly ghosts. They're not bad, scary ghosts.
Something about this just feels so uncanny and so wrong. You know, like, this is just odd. It's really odd in a way that, like, I'm having trouble even, like, articulating. Because like you said, ghosts are well-trodden ground for this show. This feels like more of a reflection of the properly, like, anything goes mentality of the Patrick show than typical SpongeBob fare.
No, it's true. I mean, this really fully does feel like an episode out of a completely different show. But anyway, they head over to, like, the main room, and, like, Plankton and Sandy and SpongeBob all meet up. Plankton has, like, gotten away from Gary, but not before being, like, run over and, like, slobbered on. And then, like, Patrick pops out of one of the walls and he goes, oh, again, oh, these ghosts are so much fun. And then he looks and he sees SpongeBob and, no, sorry, not SpongeBob. He sees Sandy and Plankton, the other S and P, and he goes, anyway, hi guys. Sandy and Plankton are like, basically start like interrogating Patrick about like these ghosts. And they're like, do you know where they came from? Or like what happened? Patrick is about to like say some stuff, but then SpongeBob takes him aside and they walk over to like one of the like walls of the pineapple. And on the wall appears in that same pink like ectoplasm, it says, lose these goobers on the wall. And SpongeBob says, listen, like, Patrick, Plankton and Sandy are here, but they're going to try and take the ghosts away. We can get rid of them, and then we can get back to, like, having fun. And Patrick says,
I think SpongeBob is just a servant of the ghosts.
Yeah, and Patrick's like, he has second thoughts. He's like, wouldn't that be lying to them? And SpongeBob's like, no, these are our friends, too. We'll play with Sandy and Plankton later. Which, you know, implies that he counts
SpongeBob's
Plankton as a
eyes
friend.
start to turn black. No, Patrick, we're gonna have fun here. Forever and ever and ever.
I mean, it gets there, but in a kind of, like, child-friendly way, because SpongeBob goes like, oh, you guys want to know more about the ghosts? Well, they love this game. It's the kicking game. The ghosts start, like, kicking Patrick invisibly, and Patrick's just like, oh, and, like, he's, like, surprised by it at first. He's like, oh, and then, like, he, like, starts, like, having fun. He's like, oh, again, and it starts kicking him, and Plankton's like, the kicking game? And then he goes, ow! And he starts getting kicked by these ghosts too. And, like, Sandy is observing this and taking notes as, like, Patrick and Plankton for, like, a minute are just getting, like, kicked around by these ghosts.
The naughty boy game.
SpongeBob says, yeah, I mean, it's probably pretty lame, right, Sandy? You know, maybe you should head home. And Sandy's like, no, it's just starting to get good. And SpongeBob's looking a little bit nervous. And then the television set turns on. It manifests into, like, this, like, staticky, like, glowing portal.
Are we doing Poltergeist now?
I guess. Like, it's just kind of everything, you know? It's like...
Come into the light, Caroline.
It's where the Dutchman just, like, put Squidward through, like, you know, all that nonsense when he was trying to scare him. Not the Fly of Despair, the other one.
Yeah, no, the same episode where, like, it was basically the Squidward is a mooch at SpongeBob's house, but it's the Flying Dutchman, and had the utterly iconic, the power within.
Yeah.
Tape, which Meg and I quote at each other all the time.
That episode feels like it came out 1,000,000 years ago, because we're here
Why
now.
haven't you called your mother, Squidward?
So anyway, Plankton, sick of getting kicked, he just sort of goes, aha! They've revealed their secret dimension. And he runs into the television and he says, I'll soon know the secret behind these ghosts, and then I'll get the formula. And he jumps into the TV.
Come on, buddy! You're thinking a little bit small, Plankton.
And Sandy chases him down into the TV because she's like, oh, no, you don't. Not if I find out what they're doing first. And she goes in there, and SpongeBob and Patrick also, like, jump into the TV as well. They end up in what looks like a weird Beetlejuice dimension, is the best way I can describe it. Like, I'll try to describe it in a little bit more depth. Like, the landscape is like a weird, like, dune-like desert in the same way that the Sandworm place in Beetlejuice is. But, like, instead of those weird structures or whatever they were in Beetlejuice, it's, like, long, like, gray fingers with, like, pointed fingernails are just rising up all over this. And it's, like, covered in mist.
SpongeBob and Patrick leap into the TV, and they both wake up and realize they've been buried alive by Mr. Melancholy and his minions, and they need to get their hearts back and defeat him.
Patrick, I think you're the Pink Opaque. I am the Pink Opaque.
Because you can't see through me.
And I'm very pink. But anyway, like, they get in there, and, like, SpongeBob and Patrick are, like, a little bit scared because they're like, are these the same ghosts that are in my house? And Patrick's like, I told you that the ghosts are bad, SpongeBob. And they're, like, holding each other, and they're, like, sweating. And Plankton just sort of goes, like, these guys are pushovers. And he takes out his, like, boombox, which he had been holding, like, since the beginning of the episode, and he presses a button, and he says, I'll disrupt them with a powerful melody. And the Hall of the Mountain King starts playing, and as it does, the ghosts start, like, moving rhythmically, and Plankton's like, he, like, his like, little hand, like, starts growing fingers. He's like, yeah! And he starts, like, singing along to the song, like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And meanwhile, like, Sandy is trying to, like, figure out what the ghosts are doing, and she says, like, this is a breakthrough in, like, paranormal research. Like, we're going to get Nobel Prizes. And as she's saying all of this, like, strange spectral cloud begins to emerge in the middle of this dimension. For a second, I thought it was going to be the Flying Dutchman. Like, I thought the Flying Dutchman was going to emerge from this. I would have even taken, like, the strange pig spirit from the Pigulon episode. I mean, that would have been, like, a weird throwback, but, like, I would have seen it before.
Or Rusty from Rusty's Ribeye.
Yeah, like, but I was not ready for what this was. Like, so what emerges from this, like, cloud is a red, like, three-headed shark creature with, like, octopus tentacles.
It's Sharktopus.
It's a Sharktopus. I think there's, like, a thing called a Luska that this is, like, this sort of resembles. It's like a sea monster. I forget from which mythology. But it's in Pathfinder, too. So I was like, oh, okay, I kind of recognize this, but what a poll.
Finding out that the current crop of SpongeBob writers are avid Pathfinder players would make a lot of things make sense.
Why are you saying because it's D&D for perverts? Is that what you're saying? And that they're also perverts? Is that where you're going with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Back into the...
Well, while I'm being judged here. So anyway, this ghost starts coming in, and Patrick goes, "Oh, it's a bad, evil ghost!" And SpongeBob goes, "No, Patrick,
it's a secret
like
creation of my purse." Don't kill those kids. I didn't do it.
I didn't do it. No, but yeah, so Patrick reacts one way, and then SpongeBob goes like, no, Patrick, it's like this. And he goes, evil bad ghost! And he, like, screams, like, and his eyes pop out and everything, and he starts running away. This thing is, like, chasing them down, and it grabs Plankton first, and then Sandy is like, oh no! And they all start running. Similar to, like, the Alaskan bullworm chasing them. They're, like, running away. They jump back out through the television, but Sandy gets caught. And SpongeBob's like, oh no, Sandy! This has gone too far! And Patrick's like, we have to get out of here! And Sandy goes, leave me for science! And she gets taken away. and then like they pop out of the television. The television itself is consumed and goes into a portal. And SpongeBob and Patrick are sitting there for a second, and SpongeBob goes, that's not good. And then, like, from out of the ceiling, another portal opens up and the TV falls out, covered in that same goop. And SpongeBob and Patrick go like, ugh.
I saw the TV fall.
We get a bubble transition, And the last scene of the episode is SpongeBob and Patrick watching TV and flipping through the channels. And SpongeBob says, like, you know what? I'm actually glad that things are back to normal around here, or something like that. And Patrick is just sort of says, oh, I wish there was something good on. And we see like a football game, and like Sandy and Plankton are in the football game and they get tackled by all the players. Patrick switches the channel, and then it's like the wildlife thing, and like sea bears attack them. And then like he switches it again, and like they're somewhere else. I think it's like a black and white movie. And Plankton just sort of says, we're gonna get out of here, and when we do, a haunting's gonna be the least of your problems. And then Patrick turns off the TV, and it like irises out, and Sandy goes, Plankton, don't go towards the light. And then it ends right then and there.
Yeah, that's literally a Poltergeist reference. Like,
it's just a wild, like, crazy, like, ghost episode. And again, it's one of those things where it's like Sandy and Plankton are sometimes just like stand-ins for whatever joke they want to make about like scientists or paranormal investigators or whatever's going on. It's like, it's always an odd choice when there's a, like, wow, Sandy and Plankton's methods are very not dissimilar to each other.
yeah, that was a weird one, but I've got to say, it's not as weird as mine.
I was expecting as much because, like, ghosts are one thing, right? We're all expecting ghosts. We're all expecting hauntings, but I'm not ready, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not ready for whatever's coming next.
Every few seconds while I was watching this, I paused it and was like, what the fuck? And I told Meg to look, and at a point Meg was like, stop making me look at this.
Oh no. Oh no.
So, the episode is called Fun-Sized Friends.
Oh, that's a cursed title somehow. Somehow
Any
that's a really
guesses,
cursed
Gus?
title.
Any guess?
Is it something where like Sandy like clones them and makes little like I've just got like Sandy science episode on the brain. That's not like that can't be what it is. Did like SpongeBob and Patrick like find some like sea mice or something, and they like I don't know, man. I'm at a loss, but like it can't be good with a title like that.
Okay, so
Is it nematodes? Is it
No.
nematodes?
dude, it's so much weirder than
Oh,
anything
no.
you could imagine.
I'm scared. I'm
All right.
scared, Henry.
So, we start with SpongeBob and Patrick playing around, like, in the kind of common area between their houses, where Squidward's house is. And I have to say, the one observation that I feel is worth making at this point is the fact that it looks, like, weirdly dark, you know, like it was an overcast day.
Yes, absolutely.
Or something, you know? And in what I think was a pretty funny gag, Patrick is going long and yelling, "Batter up!" And it cuts to SpongeBob, who is, like, pouring batter onto, like, a, like, kitchen unit that's just out there in the yard for some reason. And
They're really going all out. It's similar to like the cabin one where like it begins with those two visual gags.
yeah, and basically SpongeBob makes pancakes and flings them, and Patrick like throws like a like cooking pot, and they like collide in the middle. Patrick just fucking slams it face first into the dirt, gets up laughing, face covered in dirt. There is a plate with pancakes on it. SpongeBob comes over laughing, and in a weirdly recurring thing in this episode, stands there laughing, his tongue extends, picks up the pancakes, and eats them as a frog or a chameleon would eat its prey.
Right, another like classic like over animated weird like SpongeBob's biology becoming nightmarish sort of thing.
This is over animated to a heinous degree. It's really weird.
Oh.
So the front door of Squidward's house opens, and Squidward, looking incredibly sullen, comes out, and he's like, "What are you two nitwits doing?" And a very bizarre way of phrasing this, SpongeBob goes, "Making the most of our time together." which is really weird because it makes it seem like Patrick's terminal or something.
The thing is, Patrick ate a pie that was actually a bomb that morning, and they have to make sure that this is the best day ever.
They're bombs from a bomb factory.
Yeah, these are pies.
Here's the thing. It is worth remembering sometimes. SpongeBob has always been pretty fucking weird. You know, it's not like this was a down-to-earth, like, kitchen sink drama that one day got strange. It's just in the ways that it got strange feel very specific to modern SpongeBob.
No, I was just gonna say that, like, yeah, it is one of those things where, like, it became a different show with different ways that it was weird. Like Bubble Bass, for example. Think of him on his own and how much he's contributed to modern SpongeBob, especially, like, recently in our Spongebob Boys episodes. Like, I'm surprised that he didn't show up tonight, honestly.
Yeah, and like a weird horror influence has kind of crept in with like so much more use of Nosferatu and Slappy Laszlo, who, by the way, I've developed a bit of a new perspective on because I follow some SpongeBob blogs on Tumblr, Rubideck Killer Official, no spaces, if you're curious. And Slappy has a pretty thriving fandom among some of the newer, like, younger SpongeBob fans. And really, who am I to tell them that they're, like, enjoying SpongeBob wrong just because it's not the version of it I had in my childhood, you know? Things do need to change and evolve with the times.
The animators love drawing him, and the kids like seeing him. That's all it is.
That's the perfect handshake right there. Anyway, so Squidward yells at them with, like, a different, like, animated face for every, like, time he yells in this sentence. Just a really wacky, bizarre facial expression. He tells them to shut up and go back to their own houses. And SpongeBob and Patrick, who are hugging each other at this point, begin to weep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that classic one.
Yeah, it's always funny. Squidward goes, "Would you cut it out?" And then SpongeBob says, "Cut it out? That gives me an idea."
Oh, no. This feels so sudden. What?
He stands up, reaches into his pocket, and pulls out a big pair of scissors. And he grabs the corner of his head and snips it off. And the corner of his head regrows immediately. But the corner that he's snipped off morphs into a tiny SpongeBob that only speaks in baby-like babbling.
Oh, I don't like this. Oh, I really don't like this. No, Patrick... wait.
And then Patrick goes, "Oh, I see where you're going with this, SpongeBob," and rips off the top of his own head. It grows back, and the bit that he's ripped off becomes a tiny Patrick.
I hate that this is one of those things that references, like, real sea life biology in a way that creates an episode.
It's like, man, I wish this was less accurate to the biology of sponges and starfish.
Because they could both do this, and it's such a bad... Don't. No! Oh!
So, they give the tiny SpongeBob and Patrick to each other and say, "We can take these home, and we'll never have to be apart from each other now."
I hate this. This is bad. What is with, like, a lot of these SpongeBob episodes, and this might even extend back into the past, like in terms of how many seasons there are, with just, like taking care of babies, you know? Taking care of babyfied objects, or, like, it's never fun. Do kids actually like this?
Like, here's the thing. Kids do, like, you know, especially, like, younger kids, they do play house, you know? They do play family. So I get, but that's what we've discussed before, of sometimes the show feels a lot less Nick and a lot more Nick Jr. But no, this is gonna get really, really weird really fast. They take their respective homunculi home, and so begins the fun and games of the episode. So, SpongeBob is obsessed with, like, dressing up the little Patrick and, like, putting it in different scenario. SpongeBob is like a real, like Instapet owner, you know what I mean? Like that, like how you see those little dogs who you could tell if they had opposable arms that could hold knives, they would slash their owner's throat in their sleep because they're always put in these different stupid costumes.
It's just very funny that he's like hanging out with a smaller version of Patrick and his mind defaults to pet, thing that is lesser than me, animal.
I think it would be so existentially terrifying if you had to have like a tiny Henry and I had to have a tiny Gus. I wouldn't want that. That's weird, you know?
I don't think that would be ideal. I mean, what would we record videos with these ones? With these little ones? Like, is that what we would do?
Just the idea of, like, recording a video and just be like, hey, this is a video of me, like, executing my, like, tiny, like, a non-verbal version of my friend.
I would love it if it was just like, yeah, Henry, I've been working on this new writing project, Little Henry. Little Henry has helped out a lot with it. He's kind of the pioneer behind it.
This is awful. See, already, just in talking about this, you realize just how uncomfortable this premise is. So yeah, SpongeBob is, like, doing all of this. He makes the little Patrick, I believe, like, eat pet food and, like, wear pajamas that were, like, originally on his teddy bear. And then over in Patrick's Rock, he gets SpongeBob to, like, do, like, little chores for him, to, like, go and, like, get different bits, and, like, do different tasks. SpongeBob is treating Tiny Patrick like a pet, much to his chagrin, and Patrick is, like, basically treating Tiny SpongeBob like a fucking Roomba. And it goes on and it escalates. So the next day, when Patrick and Tiny SpongeBob wake up, Patrick yawns in a horrifically, like, over-animated fashion with, like, a huge whipping tongue. Don't know what it is, all the tongue stuff in this. And Patrick is like, okay, let's make breakfast. And he pours out a bunch of stuff on the table, including, like, books and non-edible items, and puts them in a sandwich, and eats the entire thing in one bite in front of Tiny SpongeBob, who he doesn't feed. And eats the whole thing, goes, oh man, for a second there, I didn't know if I could eat all that. But I did. Leaving, like, Tiny SpongeBob to go hungry. And then in the other house, like, little Patrick continues to be put in scenarios. He gets put in this little Lord Fauntleroy outfit with a wig, which, like, SpongeBob just carries him around and he just looks pissed off. And, like, Patrick makes little SpongeBob, like, go into his mouth like one of those, like, birds that, like, peck between the teeth of crocodiles and, like, clean his horrible teeth. And shit like that.
Oh, is it another reference to, like, the SpongeBob being a chicken meme? Like, is that another,
no,
like, animated...
it isn't. Like, because he's doing it with, like, a toothbrush. He's just treating this, like... This had, like, mad, like, Black Mirror vibes. You know how it's, like, became a consistent thing in Black Mirror at a point when they started really running out of ideas? Where, like, every other episode would be like, hey, I made, like, a tiny digital clone of you and I mistreat it.
Yeah, that's practically like a magic system in Black Mirror at this point, where it's just like, that's just kind of how a lot of the technology works.
Yeah, you know, like they had...
Okay, which, tinfoil hat moment, I feel like all the stuff they were doing with those tiny clones, I don't know if the timeline lines up, I'd have to look into it, but, like, it feels very stolen from, like, the Get Out sunken place. Am I crazy for thinking that? At least in its later editions?
I don't know, because here's the thing. The first edition of it was the, like, White Christmas, which I think was before not Black Mirror, before Get Out. where they have the whole they build a tiny digital clone of you, and John Hamm gets paid to drive it mad by manipulating its perception of time, so it will be the AI behind your smart home because it knows all of your preferences.
Yeah, he goes ham, and that's where we get the term.
Yeah. He goes ham, and then later on you have the original Amazing Digital Circus, USS Callister.
That's less tiny clone stuff, but it's adjacent, I'd say.
But yeah, no, it's just this whole idea of it being wow, when these people aren't quite person enough to earn their agency, you'll immediately begin exerting control and mistreating them. But SpongeBob and Patrick run into each other out the front of their house, and they're like, yeah, I'd love to hang out sometime, but I've made plans with little SpongeBob tonight, who Patrick is making move a sofa on his own in the background. And then SpongeBob, with little Patrick dressed up, is like, yeah, no, I'd like that too, but yeah, I made plans with little Patrick as well. So they're not hanging out with each other because they've got these weird little clones. And then at night, SpongeBob has dressed little Patrick up in a clam outfit, and he puts him in an aquarium and puts books on the lid, and is like, I'm just gonna leave you here overnight. This'll be a nice little enclosure for you.
Oh no! This is so funny because it feels like SpongeBob and Patrick have the substanced each other, and they're doing terrible things with the clone or the other self of the
body horror is coming. The body horror is coming. So then it cuts to the little SpongeBob clone in Patrick's house, who is beaten and bandaged up and is missing an arm as he dusts for Patrick. Patrick picks him up and is like, hey, and Patrick's counting on his fingers, and he's like, hey, didn't you used to have more arms than this? Patrick looks, and he's like, oh, don't worry, we'll find that arm for you. And he looks around the rock, I guess, until he finds a little plastic action figure arm, and he uses a screw to screw it into the side of little SpongeBob's body. And it's there, that's a new arm for you.
Yeah, okay. So this is just getting all kinds of they should never have made these things because they clearly can't treat them well. They're not even treating them like each other. Is this what they really think of each other?
Yeah, this is not a good... There's no good ending to this concept.
And because of the negative continuity of SpongeBob, you know that these little baby clones can't make it through unless they, supplant the originals in some bizarre fashion.
No, it's true. So anyway, Patrick and SpongeBob go to sleep, and the different, little clones manage to break out of the homes where they're being held and meet in the middle and see how they've been treated. And they hatch a plan of revenge.
Oh.
As best I can recollect.
They're pulling a little bit of their own kind of hang the DJ situation.
Yeah. Or trapping Jesse Plemons in, deep space, where, the game is shutting down to, kill him. Black Mirror's a weird show. Anyway, so SpongeBob and Patrick wake up, and they've been, Gulliver's Travels style pinned to the ground.
Oh, classic.
They're tied to the ground, and little Patrick and SpongeBob climb up on them, and Patrick pulls out a pair of pliers, and SpongeBob pulls out a little jackhammer.
Oh no.
And Tiny Patrick shoves the pliers up into SpongeBob's nose, grabs a nose hair, and starts yanking it out. And as he starts yanking it out, SpongeBob's eyelashes retract into his head until Tiny Patrick yanks it all the way out, and it's just this long hair with like a little bit of like pink nose meat on the end.
Oh, that's vile.
Yeah.
Pink nose meat is vile.
And Tiny SpongeBob goes to Patrick's face and drills a nose hole into his head.
Oh.
Then he pours pepper into the nose hole, and before Patrick can sneeze, he ties up his nose and lips into each other, so when Patrick sneezes, it blows the top of his head open.
Like, the thing is, I can picture this. Like, I don't think I've seen this episode, but I feel like I've seen that visual before of Patrick getting, like, a nose hole and then things, like, put into it.
I think you might be thinking of the, when he puts the, like, the little, like, paintbrush into his nose to get the giant brush in the painting episode.
That is what I'm thinking of! Oh, no!
Tiny SpongeBob and Patrick stomachs rumble because they haven't been properly fed.
They're collapsing. They don't have enough protein to sustain their homunculus bodies.
And that's the thing, yeah, their Philosopher's Stones are running out of charges. And Patrick desperately tries to open SpongeBob's big fridge, but he can't. And little SpongeBob tries desperately to cook an egg, but he can't. And SpongeBob is just like, oh, they just want to live their lives, Patrick. And they slide out of their restraints, and SpongeBob, this is, in my opinion, the one legitimately, like, kind of funny joke of the episode. SpongeBob goes, I have an idea of what we can do. And as he helps Patrick out of his bindings, Patrick goes, this better not be another one of your crazy plans to steal the Krabby Patty formula. And SpongeBob goes, that's Plankton, Patrick. And Patrick goes, oh. Like, that actually kind of got me. I thought that was quite funny.
That is a funny joke.
So, SpongeBob takes a bunch of construction supplies and goes outside. And you hear a bunch of construction noises. And Tiny SpongeBob comes out to see that SpongeBob has built a tiny pineapple. And then Patrick comes over and puts a rock down. Oh, they set it to Wumbo! Yeah, so they both have homes to live in, and they both go in. And then it becomes night, but the way it becomes night is the lights just go out. It's really weird. And Big SpongeBob and Patrick are like, oh, we should just leave them to it. And this didn't happen. But in that moment, because, you know, the thing of, like, the sun going down just looked like the lights going off, I seriously thought it was gonna zoom out and reveal that the Big SpongeBob and Patrick we have been following the whole episode are actually also Tiny SpongeBob and Patrick's to an even bigger set. And it again,
that
literally like the
amazing.
like the Black Mirror White Christmas, like eternal zoom out of the snow globe as it becomes like a recursive nightmare.
The one thing that would need to have been explained with that is, like, why there was a Squidward on their level of reality before they created their little ones.
So it's funny that you should mention Squidward, because the SpongeBob and Patrick come out at night and they realize something's missing. It cuts to the morning.
No.
They have built out of sand a little Squidward's house between their houses.
Yeah.
But then the sand falls apart and reveals that they have buried Squidward up to his shoulders in the ground. And they both come out and start running around and playing and throwing stuff at him as he screams. And the episode ends.
Oh my god. Well, I know squids they're not the same, so, like, that would be the only way that they... Oh my god, no, Squidward! It's so dark.
My episodes, Bucket Felice and Fun Size Friends, Your episodes, was it Cabin in the Kelp and Spooky
And
Goobers?
Spooky Goobers, yeah.
What say you, Gus?
So my take is that both of your episodes are fake.
You were wrong. Only the first one was fake, sadly.
I'm so upset.
I know!
So upset. I'm so upset. No. Ah! Why?
I wish I could have told you that this is...
Henry, I was about to congratulate you because you created a very convincingly disturbing, weird, like, body horror.
It's like, surely only the mind of a horror writer could have produced that monstrosity.
Oh, I'm sure there were horror writers working on this, because once you've written enough modern SpongeBob, you qualify. Like...
I'm just thinking, checking, like, the credits, Stephen King!
Stephen King!
It's like, oh, I just wanted to make something that my grandkids could watch.
Wow. All right.
And now, I'm going to guess for yours.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to guess for yours. I'm going to make the same guess. Both of yours are fake.
Okay, so... A Cabin in the Kelp is real. Spooky Goobers is actually Spooky Spoots, and it's an Angry Beavers episode.
I thought it felt like it was a thing for just a different pair of characters.
That's why. That's
You've
why
been on a real
so
Angry
uncanny.
Beavers kick lately.
I need to rewatch that show.
You do. You've had beavers on the brain, giggity. It's so funny because Cabin in the Kelp. I mean, I guess in a sense both were real episodes, but even though one was not a real episode for SpongeBob.
From SpongeBob, yeah.
The Cabin in the Kelp. The amount of shit they cram into 11 minutes, huh?
Yeah, and the thing about it is that, like, I think what happened is that, and maybe this is something that I'll have to add to the next SpongeBob Boys episode that we do. I was faced with a situation that I began to watch the second episode in the pair, and I won't tell you a thing about it, but... I was worried that I'd run into a situation where I would have to present two real episodes that both felt fake.
No, and with me, I think it was a case of, in the spirit of the game, wanting to have one just to see if you would guess and to see if the audience would guess. By the way, please comment if you were right. And if you got wrong, tell us what ones you got wrong. But honestly, the other thing is, I really didn't want to have to watch 2 episodes of SpongeBob today.
I mean, you already watched one of the scariest ones. Like, legitimately, what was Fun-Sized Friends? That's terrible.
Yeah, I hate that that's real. But with another illustrious episode of SpongeBob Boys out of the way, thank you so much for watching our Halloween special of the show. We hope you've enjoyed it, and again, we hope you've had a happy, safe, and prosperous October, and we hope November brings many happy returns. And I hope that one of those returns is you following KillJamXXX on your social media of choice, going to the website at killjamxxx.com, and when the episodes are hopefully out there, subscribing to your preferred podcatcher, because believe me when I say, equally insane things are going to happen in that. Gus knows.
I am absolutely looking forward to this show. Having worked on it, having seen you develop it, I feel like I've been a fan of this from day one, and now the world gets to know, and that's a beautiful thing. So, show your support for KillJamXXX. We're really excited to be able to talk about it more, to have the episodes come out, and just be able to, be having a grand old time with something that is creative and wild.
You're goddamn right. Happy Halloween, friends. We'll see you in the next one.
Happy Halloween!